And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Journaling with PT podcast. This is season 2, and today we have a remarkable filmmaker in the person of Mr. John Kestner. How are you?
Great. How are you? Thank you.
I am good. It's great to have you as our first guest for the season. So it's great to have you here. I've been watching a lot of your shorts. I've been enjoying them. The most recent today, Housebroken, it's called. Housebroken.
Yeah, we did that one last December. So, and then we have one more recent one than that called Bark of Evil. So I don't know if I say that one or not.
Bark of Evil, that's the paranormal film, right?
Yes, that's the ghost.
Paranormal, like a paranormal comedy.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that is very entertaining, very different.
It's doing well.
I love
it's doing well.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all of your success. You've been piling up all of the awards all over from north to south, east to west.
Yeah, no, and not me, like everybody on the films is doing really well, and that makes me happy.
That's great. And how did you get started, by the way, in film?
In film, probably from, I don't know, when I first started having any thoughts of my own. I mean, I grew up in front of a TV. I loved movies. I loved going to the movies. I've always wanted to write for the movies. And I mean, I grew up in Ohio. So, everything's changed so much. But, the idea of wanting to make movies and growing up in Ohio, that was like, I was the crazy one in the family for wanting something like that. But it just never let up. So, and I loved it. Whether I made it or not was irrelevant. It was just, wanting to do things like this. And where we're at right now in time, it became possible, there's a famous Orson Welles quote that, a painter needs paint and a sculptor needs clay, but a filmmaker needs an army. And, that was true then. But, it's not that way anymore, really. Not at all. If you have a phone, one person can go make a movie with their phone. It's in everybody's reach now. So that's kind of a different place to be than what I knew. But I've always wanted to be involved in some way, whether I made it or not, writing or creating or doing something with movies.
Oh, that's great. And you're doing a wonderful, wonderful job. I must tell you, with all of your shorts that you have created, have you considered a feature, perhaps in the distant future?
Oh, it's
all the near future.
It's on everyone's minds. I mean, I have such a great team of people. I mean, you can have all the ideas and all the scripts you want, but if you don't have the people who can translate that onto a screen, what do you have? So, but I mean, I have a really awesome team of people, a pool of talent. And so it's really just all about making connections like that. If you want to make a film, a good film, I mean, something you're proud of. So
right.
I'm happy with that.
And what's the climate like in Arizona? Not the arid temperatures, but the weather for cinema.
I think it's very hopeful. It's very hopeful. I've been in Phoenix for a long time. There is a film community. It's gone through a lot of transformations or something like that. And, it also attracts a lot of the wrong people. So, and I don't mean that in just a bad way. There's people who want to do well, but they didn't do the homework, or they didn't really think in terms of like, I need to just study this, or I need to know this, or, so there's a lot of films that don't go well, films that never get finished, features, shorts, everything. And it's just, if people learn from that, then the next thing they do, hopefully it'll turn out better. But I mean, it's hopeful and it's good. And I think I don't know about other cities. I suspect that other cities have the same thing. They have a film community that, you know, and I was going to say that if anybody out there wants to make a movie and you're in a city, or maybe if you're not in a city, you're in a college town or something like that, look around. If you want to make a movie, you can make a movie. The ability for anyone to make a film, a short, or a feature or anything is so much in everyone's hands now. I don't know how the distribution aspect of it is going to work out yet because I haven't really explored that much of it yet. But to make a film, like what we do is I write a script and then I have people that I've, over the years met and hung on to. I mean, a lot of them are just recent too. Um, and I show it to them and they're like, yeah, and they're on board and everyone's very passionate about it. And we make a film, and that ability is everywhere. And technology allows that too. I mean, when I was in film school, we had Super 8 cameras and film and sent off to get it developed and bring it back and cut it and tape it together and hopefully, yes. And it's just all of that. And now it's just a few clicks on a clicks. I mean, it's easier to make a film now than ever, and it's also easier to get it out there too because there's a website called Film Freeway, one word, filmfreeway.com. Thousands of festivals are on there. You just upload your film, fill out the details, and start clicking and searching through the festivals. And literally, a couple of clicks, you're in. You're submitted to a festival.
And that's good for screenplays as well. I remember submitting to them, I think once or twice. I that screenplay wasn't ready, but I submitted it anyways, and it was a great experience.
It's a good experience. So you find out. That's how you find out, and that's how you learn from. And like, okay, well, going forward, whether I rewrite this one or whether I move on to something else, you get something from it. It's easier now than ever to jump into the pool and join everybody else. To where, years ago, you had to go to LA or maybe New York to even be involved in the business at all.
Right.
And it's not like that anymore. It's pretty much everywhere.
Yes, that's great. That's great. And so in terms of like theater going, do you see a lot of support from the public, or how is it there in Arizona?
For like independent,
just for movie going in general.
Movie going in general, I think a lot of the theaters are just sitting empty because there just isn't really any good.
Oh, goodness.
There just isn't any good product out there. I think, I mean, that's a whole other avenue of conversation of what I think happened to Hollywood is. I think it started a long time ago. In the 80s, you had corporations who bought up the movie studios, and they brought the corporate mindset to the Hollywood studios. So you didn't have like a Robert Evans in charge of Paramount who chose movies like Love Story and The Godfather and shepherded them along and got them out and let artists make the films. You had focus groups and corporate decision making and the graphs with like, okay, if we spend this much, we'll make this much because this name's attached and we'll get this much. And it became less of a creative process and more of a math problem. So it started in the 80s, and then really, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think also like nepotism and cronyism ate away at the talent at every level because pretty much, Daniel Tosh, the comedian, had a show called Tosh Point Oh on Comedy Central, and he had a segment on there that showed every big name and who they were related to. And you're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, his mother was a casting agent, and her dad was this. So, and I think that's why there's not a search for talent anymore in Hollywood. It's become like a high school popularity contest for the rich, and not a search for talent, and not a search for, it's all about the deals now and not the development. So that's unfortunate because I think the weird thing is when I was young, the special effects, which were awesome and still are for a lot of these films, like 2001, Space Odyssey and Alien, you wouldn't touch them. They were awesome. But now they have all the special effects and all of the things they can do to make something look just amazing, but they don't have the stories now. So back then they had the stories, and now they don't have the stories. So and everything's like a video game, a formula. So I don't see any much creativity. I don't see a search for developing something. It's like, okay, we made the deal, let's make the movie. And it's like, you know what, if you developed this a little more and written a few more drafts, you might have had a good movie. But now you just got another piece of product that you put out. And the celebrities aren't selling the films either. I mean, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee anymore if you sign somebody. I mean, Steven Spielberg told Tom Cruise, "You saved our butts this year with, Top Gun Maverick," which was a huge hit. But then I think a year later, his Mission Impossible movie didn't do well. So it's like, oh, wow. Okay. The one guy that Spielberg said saved Hollywood now stumbles. So
unpredictability is just off the roof.
Yeah. Sadly, it's becoming predictable for failure. So there's a
we have
lot
to be more hopeful, John.
This isn't going anywhere. But I don't know. I don't. There's a huge shift happening right now, and the thing is, I don't think our media is equipped to really give us the real story of what's happening in our own culture. And the reason I say that is that, we hear about the big bombs or the movies that don't do well, but we're not hearing about, say, they don't even really report it. Like a lot of faith-based films are doing really well for how much they put in and how much they get back. But you don't hear about that. So, and the faith-based films are doing well because there is an audience for that. And I've seen some really good ones. It used to be, if you said faith-based, they thought, some like a Hallmark Christmas movie. They knew it was a sermonizing. It was going to be, but now I've seen a few of them that were just like really good.
Faith-based has become more broad. I've seen that happen in terms of like the genres that they're using for that. It's not limited to, like you say, like a Hallmark type of film. They've crossed the boundaries, and you've done that with some of yours as well.
That's what I want to keep doing with a lot of them. We're just finishing up one now that's going to be. I think really, it's funny because all the other films, as soon as we finished it, everybody on the film was like, "Hey, when am I going to get to see this?" And for this one we just did, everybody said, "Take your time. Take your time editing this. We want this to be something really special." So, we're working on that. But this last summer I was at a festival in LA called the Hard Faith Film Festival, and Spencer and the people that are there are really, really great people, and they have a desire to tell stories that aren't limited to a particular audience, not just a faith-based audience. They want, and I think that's just that's a goal I have, is to make something that somebody doesn't see as like, what, that was a faith-based film. No, it wasn't limited to that. There was something more to it. It reached out to more people. It said something in a very broad way to a lot of people who either are in or out of that audience. So, and then that was a great festival. So, and I think that was their third year or so, but they're chugging along doing something, and they're making their own films too. So, but yeah, so there's like I said, there's things are changing and there's shifts going on. The old models really aren't working, and I don't know if anybody is accurately tracking how things are moving, really. So,
right. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the films that you've done. One of my favorites so far is The Foxhole.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the acting in that. I enjoyed the suspense. Yeah. I enjoyed, the performances were great. Just from the first frame onward, I really enjoyed it. I wanted it to continue. I wanted, perhaps maybe a part 2. Who knows what happens?
Well, the ending of it.
Don't give anything away.
Yeah, Mike, I'm not sure the sequel, how that would go, but But well, I mean
Well,
that
in the
one,
vein of maybe like serialized somehow,
yeah,
possibly.
maybe,
That's
maybe.
something in the
But
case.
that's
You
the
never
kind of
know.
thing we want to do. Is something that uh,
Mm.
I mean that one I kind of came up with that for an actress, a local actress, Sally Ann Francis. She's had a lot of experience stage and she acts a lot, and I knew she was really good, and I just was, kind of, you put it in the back of your mind like, was there something we could do? And then I just one night was walking around work, my real job, and I was thinking about Madeline Murray O'Hare, who was and it's funny, a lot of people don't know who that is anymore, which I think is interesting. She was the woman who sued the government in the 1960s to have prayer and Bibles removed from high schools. And she formed the American Atheist Association. And anyway, she was a difficult person. There's plenty of videos you can find out, but most, if someone has heard of her, a lot of them don't even know that she had been abducted and murdered by her former employees because she had she had such contempt for the church people that she goes, I'm going to hire ex-cons. Well, that didn't work out so well. They kidnapped her, her son, and her granddaughter, and
Oh my goodness.
that's an interesting story in itself. There's, like I said, there's plenty
Mm-hmm.
of true crime videos on that you can find, but whoa! But I thought, you know what, that would be, it would be interesting to do a short film about a person like that in their last moments, because that's the one thing we'll never know. Someone who is now facing their own death, and they have to like reconsider everything they've ever done because they're now facing the one thing they'll have no say, nothing to do about it. So anyway, I just thought that would be a good short film. So I wrote that, and then Sally graciously said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And she's done very well. She's I forget how many awards she's won for her acting. And Bill Weatherall, the abductor, um, you know, he won
Yeah,
Best Villain in one of the festivals. So no, I just love it when somebody from the film gets recognition and awards and things like that. So that's kind of where that came from. And also doing a tour. There's a studio here in the west side of Phoenix in Glendale, Arizona, called Painted Tiger Studios, and they had acquired an old slaughterhouse behind their studio, and they did an open house, and that's so it was kind of like all these things converging, like, wanting to do something with Sally, uh, knowing who Madeline Murray O'Hare was and what happened to her, and then touring an old slaughterhouse that was available because the studio now owned it. So it just kind of came. It was just kind of came together for us, and we had a lot of issues with the post on it, but it came together finally. And it's doing well.
that's
So
great because yeah, I was fascinated by how financially adept you are at your budget filmmaking, and
what
in
budget?
conversation, precisely, how do you get, because your films have such great production value and quality, it's it's amazing.
Well,
How do you achieve that?
here's how it worked for me is meeting someone who is just so technically good at what they do. The first couple of films we did were were shot, edited, lit, did everything. You can find these people. Justin Moscow's his name, and I mean he's just does amazing work. And then he got married. He had a kid. I think he's got another one on the way now. So it's like, oh, and I mean, I don't have the money to pay him what he's worth. So, but I mean, so but he did the first few films that you see, Hanging Buddy and Beverly Ever After. He edited Foxhole. He didn't shoot it, but, and then, when he was unavailable, I found somebody else, and I found him at a film festival. I met him, talked to him. Roman Aguirre is who we shot the last few. He did Housebroken and Bark of Evil, and then our next film, Cross Examination, and he shot and basically lit and edits and does sound. I mean, one man band. I mean, both of these guys, and they can do everything. So I was very fortunate enough to meet and work with two guys who just can do everything, and they're great collaborators too. I mean, you're just open. The best thing you could do is to listen to everybody. If just listen, because if you wrote the script and you know what the story is, then you know where you want it to go. And if someone comes up and says, hey, what if this happened, and you process that, and you're like, oh yeah, that'll work. And then sometimes you're like, I don't think that's going to work. You know what? We'll shoot it anyway, because it's always good to have a bunch of options when you go into editing. So I was very, very lucky to be around some very professional and just really people that blow you away. I mean, the first time I think our first film of this, I did one 12 years ago, but of this series, I saw at the Chinese theaters in Hollywood, and it was Hanging Buddy. And I just was so blown away by how good it looked on a big screen and how professional it was. And I think that's what blew me away the most, was like, this looks as good as, if a studio would put $1 million or 10 million into this. And I did it for a couple thousand. And I mean, and the thing is, there's only a few people that get, unfortunately, I can't pay my actors. But when I do find them here locally, and I say, I think this person would be good in this, I talk to them, I show them the script, and I tell them, I said, look, I can't pay you, but I'll guarantee you this movie will get done. I will get it out there. So I will submit it. I spend more on festivals than I do the films. I spend 3 times more on sending the film out to festivals, and then I tell them, if you get an award, I'll see that you get the trophy or whatever it is they give, and the chipping or whatever. So I tell them all that, and they usually like the script. They go, oh wow, yeah, I want to do this. So I hope someday to be able to pay everybody, but for right now, it's one of those situations where this is the only way this can get done. So, but that's my guarantees, and it's worked so far. And so far, we've won awards. I think we've won awards for everything. And the actors are winning awards. The Justin, Roman, they get awards. Our makeup girl, Candace Dome, she's won awards for her. She won for best makeup and costume design for Housebroken. So that costume is going to get some use, because she made it the werewolf for Housebroken, and then it was the bottom of it was the demon in Bark of Evil, and then we're going to do a Bigfoot one too, and that costume we'll change the head out, and it'll be Bigfoot. So so just being very frugal, but having something that people can get on board and get excited about makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And approximately how much is it, like your budget? And you said there's no budget, but you're utilizing some funds for your project.
Yeah. I haven't with this series.
You have to give me the precise.
No. I don't mind. Listening. I don't set a number. I just go, okay, well, we can do this, this, and this, and depends on if we get the location or not. There's a couple times I had to pay for a studio or studio space, and that can be about $1,000 for a studio here locally. I mean, the biggest expense is I will pay the guys who are shooting and editing it, because I mean, my gosh, they're making it, so they get paid. And the makeup girl will get paid because she'll do hair and makeup on the set. But then with our films, we need a werewolf for this one. We need a demon for this one. And she's, you know, a makeup whiz.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the actors, haven't paid them yet, but I figure each film comes out around $3,000, and a lot of that is food. So because I tell people,
I
you're
mean,
going to
that's
get
great, though.
fed.
It's a great price.
I'll see that you get fed.
Mm-hmm.
So if you show up, you'll get fed.
Yeah, well,
But
I mean, that's a good bargain. I want to get the film made, so it makes
yeah, and
sense
I
to
think
me.
that's it. They want to see themselves, and you know, and they want that, and that's the goal, is to see themselves on a big screen. So that's why I do spend the money on festivals, and to get the films out there. Um, you know, we got a screening. Housebroken is going to be shown in Phoenix here at the end of this month. We were just up north last month. The last three films, Foxhole, Housebroken, and Bark of Evil, all played at the Sholo Film Festival. I got to give a really big shout out to them.
Mhm.
Sholo's a beautiful little town up in the beautiful mountains of the White Mountains of northern Arizona, and they have like just one of my favorite film festivals of all time. They're really good, very well run, and you know, Martina Webster, the girl that the lady that runs it, she's the one who I submitted to the festival a script, because all I did was scripts up until a few years ago, and I won, and then I won the next year, and I said, well, I told her, I said, well, I guess I better start writing next year. So she goes, no, you need to make a film, and I just well, you know what? She's right. I do. I need to make a film. So I came back to Phoenix, and you know, we made Hanging Buddy. Uh, we ran into a lot of problems trying to get it made, but but we got it done. We got it made. So Martinez, you know, I always love to credit her with, you know, pushing us forward into actually making a
You're
film.
very resourceful to find all of these people. Yes,
Look,
you're very
you got to keep
resourceful to find
your radar open. You got to, you
all
know,
the talent.
yeah, it's you got
Mm-hmm.
to look for it and find it, and you can find it. It's there. I mean, um, so it's and, you know, a lot of the actors that are in our films, a lot of them have never acted before, you know, and you can't tell. I mean, when I
No,
see the
you
films,
can't.
yeah, that some of them have never acted before. I know someone we use, Audrey Bennett, is a actress that was a coworker, and I couldn't find somebody to play. Well, with Hanging Buddy, it was kind of a controversial pick to do that film, because you know,
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago when we did it, it's a comedy about a trans biological female who gets the first male organ transplant from a cadaver, and 4 weeks after the surgery, the organ starts talking, and it's basically a conversation between a male organ.
It's weird.
And, and it's and so anyway, but very, very controversial. I mean, you couldn't even talk about it, anything like that, without getting kicked off of social media back then. The funny thing, and the reason I go into this is because when we did the film, we finished it, and I told everybody, I said, listen, if we get canceled, if no festival takes us, it's not your guys' fault. It's mine for writing this. You guys did great. This
Mm-hmm.
film turned out better than I ever imagined it would, and we're coming up on 60 awards, and I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were trying to get it going, I could not find an actress, because every actress was like, "Oh no, I'm not touching that one." They'd read the script, they'd get mad and yell at me, and how dare you, you know? And I'm like, it's a comedy, you know. It's a conversation between a biological woman who wants to be a man talking to a penis who is telling her there's more to this than you know. And it's a comedy. That's all I meant it
My
as.
goodness. Uh-huh.
And but I couldn't find an actress to do it. And finally, one of the girls that I work with said, "Hey, I'll do it." And I said, "Have you ever acted before?" She goes, "Nope." I said, "You're hired." And she showed up and killed it. And she's won, is it up to a dozen awards? I mean, she's won awards, and she got to we went to Hollywood, and she got to see it on Hollywood Boulevard at the Chinese Theater for a festival, and she's doing great. I mean, she's got roles in pretty much everything after that, or has had some kind of role in them, and she's in the newest one we're doing right now too. So I mean, it's really great to watch somebody just take a shot at something and then like, wow, she really nailed that. And so, but yeah, that one was a little tough to get going, but once it got going. But the funny thing about it is, and this is something I do not understand myself, is the film. We thought we were going to get canceled. We thought it was going to be controversy. We thought, no, everybody laughed. So we did not have the any sort of backlash at all about got the joke.
When was this again?
We shot this.
When was this film?
It was filmed over Thanksgiving weekend 3 years ago. So we're coming up on the third anniversary. So when we did it, and I mean, that's how fast times change. Because when we shot the film, I thought, I believed in it. I thought it was funny. I thought people would get it. And everything at that time, people were getting canceled. You couldn't talk about it. You couldn't anything. You certainly couldn't joke about it. And we did the film and started sending it out, and it started getting accepted. It started getting screened. But the crazy thing about it is I thought that we would get a lot of pushback from the LGBTQ community. And here we are 3 years later. This year, I have festivals from Europe asking for the film. And then when I submit to them, they have we've been a semi-finalist for Best Queer Cinema in Spain, Germany, and England for a film that 3 years ago I thought we're all going to get canceled for this. And now it's in the category that, and I didn't submit, I submitted under comedy, but they did push it, they put it into the Best Queer Cinema. So we have that title now. So that's just how fast things change and how weird it can get, because I never thought that would happen. So, but I hope people responding to the humor. I think there isn't enough humor out there. I think there needs to be more. That's why I did the last couple of Housebroken and Bark of Evil, because I just thought we need to do something funny, because there just isn't enough funny stuff out there.
Yeah, I'm just watching the internet. I'm hoping it stays on. Yes. So I meant to ask you about distribution, and are you hoping to get on a streaming platform somewhere?
I haven't looked into it much. I haven't really looked into it much, because at this point I just wanted to build up a body of work. And, several of these shorts I've written feature scripts for. So without checking to outside sources or distribution sources or anything for the short films, I was just thinking of trying to have something ready so that if I did connect with somebody who could say, how much can you make this film for? Okay, here's this much. That's kind of been the back of the mind thing so far, but I have not explored it much. I understand there are distribution options now for shorts, but I to be honest, I go from one film to the next, so I'm not in a position really to spend a lot of time, and I probably should, because
you should.
The festivals
because
can only
a lot in there.
But the big goal is to hopefully do a feature, and we have several that can be done very, very cheaply, and a couple of them are based on these shorts, and some of them aren't. So it's just trying to find someone who could, I was able to find someone who could make the film, and I've found people who can act in the film to bring everything up, but to find someone to actually finance the film, which is everybody. I mean, everybody from the studio level down, everybody's looking for somebody to finance their projects. And that's something I should, but I haven't really had a chance to really explore that.
Yes, like I said, there are many out there. There's Tubi, there's Pluto TV. I mean, on and on. So many. I couldn't believe how many streaming platforms there are now. I mean, lesser known ones, obviously, that like I think it was called Fossum. There's so many, and you can just download an app, and then you can have your short available for someone to view for the
Yeah.
viewing public.
I mean, I don't know how to monetize that just
Check
yet.
into it. Check
Yeah,
into it, John.
I'll try to
No
get
more
in.
procrastinating.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I mean, it's very time consuming to. Hopefully, we'll have a final edit next week on the latest film, and then I have like 2 or 3 others
Mhm.
ready to, like, okay, this is what's next. What are we, when are we doing it, and who's showing up? So, um, but I right now, just what we're doing is we're just making films and putting them in festivals and attending when we can, and then
Mhm.
when they're done with their festival run, which is usually about a year. Um, just put them on YouTube and on our channel, and see what happens from there. But we
That's
do talk
great.
about features all the time, because features is, that's something you can make money from a feature. You can get distribution for a feature, so that's kind of the goal. And it's also my goal as a writer to write something we can afford to do. I mean, that's true too. So,
I have every confidence in you that you will do that.
oh,
Every
thank
confidence. You're very creative. So I
oh,
know
thank
it will be done. And if folks who are listening in and who may be watching want to get in contact with you, Mr. John Kestner, where can they find you?
I do a lot on
On
Facebook.
socials or
If you go to we have a channel on YouTube. It's under Cavity Search Pictures Films. So make sure you put the films at the end of that, because I won't be responsible for Cavity
else at
Search
the end of the
Pictures.
film?
Has to end with films, or you're going to get all kinds of nutty stuff. I was kind of in a jokey mood when I came up with the title of the company. Um, I thought Cavity Search Pictures with a dentist theme would be funny, because you hear one thing and then you see it like, oh, it's a dental theme. Um, but Cavity Search Pictures Films on YouTube is where our films, and we have a couple trailers. We just started doing trailers for short films, so you can find those there. And then I'm on Facebook under my name here. Um, and yeah, it's just that anybody can get a hold of me that way. I'm on Instagram too, um, but I'm not on there as much as I am Facebook. So
Yeah,
that's the
it
easiest
was
way.
close encounters of the last kind just a second ago when we both disappeared and we came back. So
Oh, we did. We disappeared. I
we're
missed
back.
it.
Yeah.
Everything looks fine on my end. So
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
yeah, classic. And one of the
That's
few
okay.
times the sequel is as good as the original.
Mhm.
I threw that out there
Yes.
because I know way too much about movies. But
Yes. Cavity search. When I first saw it, I was thinking of like an empty thorax.
yeah,
I don't know. I was thinking of like
I
the
wanted,
thorax,
yeah,
not the mouth.
oh, okay.
Um,
I just thought
you
it
know what I
sounded
mean?
fun.
I was
Yeah.
thinking corpse.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't
I
know.
wanted
That's
something
just my
kind of funny.
imagination.
Yeah. I figured it would kind of trigger different things in different people, but
That's
but the logo is a dentist and a dental hygienist, so it's like, oh, okay. He meant it as that, and I took it as
yeah.
this. So,
So I will have your information in the show notes.
oh, great. So yeah, but yeah, that's kind of what we're doing right now. But there's a lot
All
of
right.
things going
We're
on, a
having.
lot of things. So,
All right, John. This internet is not cooperating too well right now,
oh,
so
okay,
we're going to end. It
okay,
is it's I don't want it to completely leave us stranded, so we're going to end shortly. But just to wrap up, what is one of your favorite, or you can give me 2, 3 films from the 90s that are your favorites?
From when?
From the 1990s.
From the
What are 3 of
1990s?
your favorite films from the 1990s? I know it's an odd, it's an odd
Yeah,
decade, but
yeah, because it is an off the wall decade. You know what?
Mhm.
There's a lot of hate thrown at it, but I always love The English Patient. It gets a lot of hate, but that movie just hit me just right because I went in not knowing anything about it. So I love The English Patient. I would say The Big Lebowski. That was 98, I believe.
Okay.
Um,
Jeff Bridges all over.
I went to a Lebowski Fest. They actually have conventions for The Big Lebowski, and Jeff was there with his band. So, and that was a crazy night. It was at the
Oh,
Wiltern
neat.
in L.A. near
What did they
downtown
play?
LA. They played original stuff. They played their original songs. Nothing from the movie. Jeff had his
Which
own band.
instrument? Is he in lead vocals? What was he doing?
His vocals, and he played guitar.
Oh,
And he
lead
put out an
guitar?
album. He
Bass?
put out an album. I believe it was guitar. But yeah,
Hmm.
he put out an album that I believe was co-produced with Michael McDonald of the Doobie Brothers because they're friends. And so yeah, so Jeff was there, and a lot of the cast, some cast members that the waitress that tells Walter to watch his language, and there were all these people there that were in the movie, and there were all these great costumes, cosplayers. I have a full album of them public on my Facebook in my photo albums of Lebowski Fest. But you could see I took as many pictures as I could of all the costume people who showed up, and it was just a lot of fun. And it was every conceivable character. Somebody was there dressed as that. So it was just a lot of fun. It'd be nice if some of that stuff came back. But I mean, things like that, I'll try to go
Yeah.
to. I went to the Lebowski Fest. I flew to Oregon to go to the 40th anniversary of Animal House up in Oregon. And that was a big thing. They recreated the parade from the movie. I got to ride the Deathmobile. That was awesome. And I wasn't anybody. I mean, I just showed up with just an awesome toga, and they asked me to
So you
ride on
didn't
top.
you didn't go over to meet Jeff? You didn't go over to meet him?
No. I just went to I just went to the Lebowski Fest, so I'm in the audience with everybody else. And Jeff came out and he did a set with his band, and then he put the sweater on and the sunglasses and introduced the movie, and everybody watched the movie. But they had a place out in the lobby with all the with the different cast members who were there signing things, and all the cosplayers, and they put like 20 or 30 dudes together for a picture together, and all the Walters. And it was kind of funny standing in line because some of the dude and Walter cosplayers were resentful of the others who had an actual Folgers coffee can for Donnie. So you can't get that metal Folgers coffee can that they put Donnie's ashes in at the end of the movie. So a lot of them had the plastic one, and they were like, ugh, yeah, go away.
Mhm.
You don't have a real coffee can, so you're not as good
Oh,
as.
sounds like a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was a great time.
So the English Patient,
English Patient, Big
the
Lebowski
English Patient, the Big Lebowski, and
from the
one more.
90s.
You
From the
have 3.
90s. You look around. Do I have a poster hanging up of something? Uh, the 90s.
I'll tell you one of mine.
Well, after 2000.
I'll tell you one of mine.
Okay.
Schindler's List is one of mine. One of my favorite films of all
Schindler's
time.
List.
Definitely, I think
1993.
it came
Oh,
out
yeah.
in
Another one
93.
just hit me.
So
Another one just hit me. That was 93, I believe. Schindler's List. Yeah. Schindler's List. And that was also Jurassic Park came out that year. Spielberg had Jurassic Park in the summer and Schindler's List for Christmas. And then Casino was 96, I think. So it's starting to come. It's starting to come back to me, but the '90s isn't really my.
I know. I kind of zapped that out of the air. I just wanted to catch you
Yeah.
off balance.
Yeah, I forgot Schindler's List, and wow. So yeah, Schindler's List definitely that would be one to put in there, because I've been to Schindler's grave in Jerusalem.
Mhm.
It's just like they show at the end of the movie. So
Oh.
it's in fact there was a cloth red rose amongst the stones on Schindler's grave in the 2000s when I went. Because I said, "Hey, where's Schindler's grave at?" And so it's outside the city walls. So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I went and found that during a visit there. So yeah, a crazy story. If you ever read the book, it's even wilder than the movie was. Schindler was just the craziest, reckless guy ever. How he pulled out any of that off is miraculous. But yeah, that's a great
Yes, it
movie. Yeah.
was.
But I slipped up on that one. So ask me about the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm all over it. But 90s, it's like, then after 2000, forget it. I don't
Next time when we have you back on.
Yeah, well,
Yes, we'll have to have you back on because you're just turning films out like you got it going on.
It looks
So
that
we
way
have to
from
have
the
you back
outside.
on. So it was great.
Well, thank you. We look
Yes.
forward to it. I'm very
Yes.
anxious.
Well, it was great. It was great speaking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
It was great speaking with you, John. And yes, it's such a pleasure to finally have a conversation. So much has happened, but finally get started and full steam ahead.
Well,
So
I'm
we'll
here
see
anytime.
where this season takes us. And yes, so all of you, thank you so much for listening in and tuning in. If you're watching, thank you very much for watching and tuning into the Journaling with PT podcast. I am your host, artist PT Russell. Thank you so much. And we're going to go and we're going to end this just on a little light note with Preludio by the exquisitely talented ZENDO de MELO. And the production was done by Mr. Joe Alvarado. Thank you.